Networking is awful. In
Yeah.
fact, Kerwin, if I ask you what's your emotional association to the word, think about how you feel when you hear the word.
I hate it.
And
Like,
yeah,
I'd rather, I'd rather exfoliate with razor blades.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's amazing. It's researchers. I think it was Francesca Gino, brilliant researcher from Harvard Business School, looked at the unconscious association that we have to the word networking, and the association was wanting to wash your hands because you feel dirty.
Yeah.
So, like,
Okay.
why would any of us want to network? Tell me one point in our evolutionary history where networking was a thing. Like, imagine we were in groups of, I don't know, 50 to 250. There was no such thing as networking. You only had friends and family and extended social communities. You didn't need to, like, go network. It wasn't like a thing. It's not natural to us. What's natural is developing in groups and out groups, for sure. Or communities. And
So when you say in groups and out groups, that's an interesting statement. What's an in group versus an out group?
well, let's look at it like this. Okay. If what's the biggest punishment that we can give people aside from like capital punishment, right? So somebody goes to jail, and what's the worst thing we can
Gotcha.
do to them?
Social isolation. Yeah.
Yeah. For human beings, the fear of social isolation or the experience of social isolation is devastating. It drives people literally crazy, right? Solitary confinement is cruel and awful and should be eliminated. The issue is that we evolved with the understanding that if we're alone, we're probably not going to survive. So we need to be part of a group. And all of our emotions are lined up with that. Being lonely, for example, if Kerwin, you want to live a long time, the greatest predictors of your longevity, aside from your genetics, which we currently can't affect, maybe in 10 years CRISPR will let you edit something, are like clean air and water to some degree. Exercise and getting your flu shot, like your annual flu shot, are on par with each other. Quitting drinking and quitting smoking are pretty important. But number 2 is having close friends. And number 1 is having loose social ties, feeling like you're part of a community. And here's what's really interesting about that. I don't know how it is where you live, but in the US, in 1985, the average American had 3 close friends besides family. Just about. It was a little bit less. By 2004, that was down to just about 2. So we lost 50% of our friends in 20 years, 19 years, I guess. And that's before social media even existed. Now, a lot of the problem is that people are moving away from where they grew up, more often for work and school, and so they're losing their social ties. But if we think about the fact that the greatest predictor of our longevity is social ties, and then we're intentionally cutting them, then we're in a situation that isn't ideal. And
So timely.
yeah, it's kind of crazy, especially because now, some families are saying, oh, we feel closer because we do a family Zoom every week and things like that. But in general, my hunch is that most people feel more isolated and lonely, especially if they're single.
And especially with what's been going on, the last year and a half since COVID.
But we all like making friends. So I started trying to understand what engages influential people so that we could connect and make friends. But I didn't just want to be friends with them. I didn't want to be like a hub in a spoke, like in a wheel, right? I wanted them to be connected to each other, because if I know somebody who's really good at staying fit, right, like a professional athlete, I know somebody who's really good with finance, and they meet each other, then they'll positively impact each other, and then I'll get that secondary effect. So if that Olympian becomes wealthier and I'm friends with them, then I'm getting that secondary effect.
Yeah, right.
And so I wanted to create fundamentally a community, a group of people who had close social ties to each other, that were friends with each other. And that way, even if I can't stay in touch with all of them all the time, the fact that they're connected to each other keeps them close, and so that they're always part of my circle to some degree.
There you have it, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Unstoppable with me, your host, Kerwin Ray. And please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you get to see all of these interviews in the flesh. Share this podcast with your friends. I would love to hear what you guys think. Thanks for joining us.